happens in traffic. At a red light, when the music between songs cuts out and the engine hums, and you stare at the brake lights of the car ahead of you, and something opens. It happens at the supermarket, in the cereal aisle, with a box in your hand. It happens at 3 in the morning when the apartment is quiet, and you are not sleeping, and you are not awake either. And a question rises up from somewhere underneath your life and asks, without warning, for what? For what are you working? For what are you building? For what are you loving, fighting, planning, saving, becoming? If everything ends the same way, if the universe offers no answer about why you are here, for what? The question lasts a few seconds. Then you bury it. You bury it under the next task, the next notification, the next plan, the next promise that things will make sense once you reach the next milestone. And by tomorrow you have forgotten the question even visited you. But it visited, and it will visit again. You think this is depression, or burnout, or a phase. You think you need a vacation, a new job, a new relationship, a new routine. You search for the missing piece, the one habit, the one belief, the one purpose that will finally make the question stop coming. It will not stop coming, because it is not a malfunction. It is the most lucid thing that has ever happened inside you. What you felt at that red light was not weakness. It was contact, direct, unmediated contact with something that almost every adult on earth has felt, and almost no one has been allowed to name. The French philosopher Albert Camus gave it a name, the absurd, and he built an entire body of work around a single discovery, that the way you respond to that question when it visits decides whether you spend your life awake or whether you spend it running. Most people are running. They do not know they are running. They have built such elaborate systems of distraction and belief and ambition around the question that they mistake the running for living. Camus is going to look at you and say, with a kindness that will feel like cruelty, you are not living. Not yet. You are evading. What follows is not a comfort. It is what gets uncovered when the running finally stops. Here is what the absurd is not. It is not the universe being cruel to you. It is not life being unfair or hard or full of suffering. It is not the recognition that bad things happen to good people, or that you will die, or that nothing lasts. Those are observations. The absurd is something stranger. The absurd is a divorce. On one side, there is you, a creature who needs meaning the way the body needs oxygen. You cannot help it. You wake up reaching for purpose. You ask why. You build narratives. You connect events into stories. Your mind, left alone for 10 seconds, will start arranging the world into a pattern that explains why you are here. On the other side, there is the universe. Vast, indifferent, silent. It does not answer when you ask. It does not confirm your story. It does not arrange itself around your life. It rolls forward according to laws that have nothing to do with your hopes, your prayers, your plans, your name. The absurd is what happens when those two sides meet. It is not in you. It is not in the world. It is born from their confrontation, from the gap between what you need and what is offered, between the question you cannot stop asking and the silence that is the only honest reply. Camus described it as the moment a man feels like a stranger in a universe stripped of illusions, an exile without a homeland to remember. The actor and the setting suddenly mismatched, and the mismatch impossible to unsee. You spent years standing on a stage, performing a life, assuming there was a script. And then one day, the lights came up, and you saw there was no script. There never was. This is the feeling you have been calling depression. The feeling you have been calling existential dread. The feeling that visits at 3 in the morning, and that you reach for your phone to drown. It has a name, and it has a structure, and it is not a personal failure. It is what happens to a conscious creature when consciousness becomes lucid enough to see its own situation. And here is the part that almost no one teaches you. The absurd is not the conclusion. It is the starting point. Camus is explicit about this. Most thinkers treat the absurd as something to be argued away, solved, transcended. He refuses. He says the absurd is the condition. It is the flaw. Everything that matters begins after you have stopped pretending it is not there, which is exactly where most people refuse to begin. They feel the divorce, and they immediately try to remarry one side to the other. They invent meaning where there is none. They borrow purpose from a system. They hand the question off to a god, an ideology, a brand of self-improvement. They will do anything, and they will do it for decades, to avoid sitting still inside the gap. But the gap is where Camus wants you to stand, not for a moment, not as a tourist, long enough to understand what your options actually are when the running stops, because you have three. And the next part is the first one, the one almost no one talks about openly, even though it is the question Camus considered the only philosophical problem worth taking seriously. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Camus opens his most famous essay with a sentence that has scandalized readers for 80 years. There is only one truly serious philosophical problem, he writes, and that is the question of whether to destroy one's own life. Read that again. Not love, not God, not free will. The question of whether to go on at all. He is not being provocative, he is being precise. Because once you have felt the absurd, once you have stood inside the gap between your need for meaning and the silence that answers, a question becomes unavoidable. If life offers no inherent reason to continue, why continue? And every other philosophical question, every debate about ethics or knowledge or beauty, comes after that one. You cannot ask what to do with your life until you have decided whether to keep it. This is the first response to the absurd, the most direct one, the most logically clean. If the question is unbearable, eliminate the one who asks. End the consciousness. End the gap. The divorce dissolves because one of the parties is gone. Camus takes this option seriously. He does not flinch from it. He does not moralize. He sits with it the way a doctor sits with a diagnosis, refusing to look away, refusing to pretend it is something else. He writes about how the act is prepared in the silence of the heart, like a work of art, about how beginning to think is already beginning to be undermined. He is not interested in the social explanations or the surface causes. He is interested in the cold logic underneath. And then he rejects it, not on moral grounds, not because life is sacred. Camus is not making that argument. He rejects it on the grounds of coherence. Here is his reasoning, stripped down. The absurd is the confrontation between you and the silent universe. To exit the confrontation by ending yourself does not resolve it. It surrenders to it. It is the universe winning by default because you walked off the field. And if what you wanted was to face reality without illusion, then walking off the field is the one thing you cannot do. It is the final illusion, the illusion that there is a way out. This is harder than it sounds, because most of the alternatives people reach for are softer versions of the same surrender. The numbing, the constant distraction, the deliberate dulling of awareness so the question stops visiting. The substances, the screens, the overscheduling. All of it is a slower form of erasing the one who asks. Quieter, more respectable, but structurally the same move. And this is the trap Camus wants you to see. You think you have rejected the first escape because you are still alive. But are you awake? Are you lucid? Are you actually standing inside the gap? Or have you spent the last decade dimming the lights inside yourself so that the gap stops being visible? Have you been ending the questioner one ordinary evening at a time? If you have, you are not as far from the first response as you think. You are just doing it on a slower timeline. Camus closes this door not to comfort you, but to force you toward the second one, because there is another escape, and in the next part, we are going to name it. The second escape is more dangerous than the first because it does not look like an escape. Camus calls it philosophical self-destruction, the leap. The moment a thinker walks right up to the absurd, sees it clearly, and then, at the last possible second, closes their eyes and jumps into a system that promises the gap was never really there. This is what most people are doing right now. They will spend their entire lives doing it, and they will call it living. Here is the move. You feel the absurd, the silence, the mismatch between what you need and what the universe offers. And instead of staying there, you reach for something that answers on the universe's behalf. A god, a doctrine, a political ideology, a self-help framework, a career path that promises legacy, a relationship cast as soulmate destiny, a philosophy of productivity that turns every hour into proof you matter. Anything that fills the silence with a voice. Camus walked through the great thinkers who had done this. Kierkegaard, who saw the absurd more clearly than almost anyone, then leapt into Christianity and called the leap a sacrifice of the intellect. Chestov, who ran toward the irrational because the irrational at least was not silent. Husserl, who tried to argue the universe back into rational order. Camus respected them. He admired them, and he refused to follow. Because the leap is not a solution. The leap is a betrayal of the very lucidity that brought you to the question in the first place. You looked into the gap, and then you decided you could not bear what you saw, and you imported a meaning from outside to cover it. You did not resolve the absurd. You buried it, and now you live on top of the burial. Look at how this functions in an ordinary life. You feel the existential drift. You sense that something is missing. And so, you find a system. Maybe it is religion in the traditional sense. Maybe it is the ideology of optimization, the morning routine, the cold plunge, the spreadsheet of habits, the promise that if you just track enough metrics, your life will mean something. Maybe it is romantic love treated as salvation, the partner cast as the answer to a question they were never built to carry. Maybe it is political identity, the cause that gives your existence a side. Maybe it is the soft version of every spirituality on the market, the gentle insistence that everything happens for a reason. The universe has a plan. You are exactly where you need to be. Camus is not contemptuous of these things. He understands the hunger underneath them. But he is unflinching about what they are. They are leaps. They are the move of taking the unbearable silence and replacing it with a voice that you yourself manufactured and then forgot you manufactured. And the cost of the leap is the thing you came here for. Contact with reality. You wanted to stop running. The leap is a more comfortable form of running. Sit with that for a moment, because the question is not whether you have done this. Almost everyone has. The question is whether you can see, right now, the specific shape your leap has taken in your own life, the system you have outsourced your meaning to, the voice you installed to silence the gap, the story you tell yourself every morning before you are even fully awake, the one that lets you get up, get dressed, and walk past the question without flinching. That story is your leap, and until you can name it, you cannot choose anything else, because there is something else. There is a third response, the one Camus considered the only honest one, and it is the opposite of every escape we have walked through so far. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas, while Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment. There is a third option, and it is the one Camus spent his life defending. It is not self-destruction. It is not the leap. It is not optimism, not pessimism, not resignation, not faith. It is something most people have never been offered as a possibility, because the entire architecture of modern life is built to hide it from view. Camus called it revolt. The word is misleading at first. Revolt sounds loud, political, aggressive. What Camus meant is quieter and far more radical. Revolt is the refusal to surrender on either side. You do not eliminate yourself. You do not eliminate the question by importing a false answer. You stay. You stay inside the gap, fully conscious of it, and you live anyway. He puts it in a single line that should be carved into the inside of your skull. Living is keeping the absurd alive. Read that slowly. Living, actually living, not the autopilot you have been calling living, requires keeping the absurd alive, not solving it, not transcending it, keeping it present in your awareness every day, the way you keep your own breathing present when you finally stop and notice it. The absurd dies, Camus says, the moment you turn away from it. Most people turn away within seconds of meeting it. Revolt is what happens when you stop turning away. This is harder than it sounds. The mind does not want to hold this. The mind wants resolution. It wants a verdict, a doctrine, a closed loop. To live in revolt is to live with a question permanently open inside you and to refuse the relief of closing it. It is to feel the silence of the universe and to keep speaking, to know there is no inherent meaning and to construct meaning anyway, while remembering, always, that you are the one constructing it. And here is the paradox that almost no one sees coming. The person who lives this way is not less alive. They are more alive. They are more present, more lucid, more capable of joy than the person buried in the leap. Camus is direct about this. Once you accept that life has no given meaning, life is lived all the better. Not in spite of the absurd, but through it. Because everything you do is now yours. Every choice, every commitment, every moment of love or work or attention. You are not borrowing it from a system that promised it would matter. You are giving it weight with your own hands. The mattering is something you make, not something you receive. This is what was waiting on the other side of the running. Not despair. Presence. A vitality that the leap could never offer, because the leap was always borrowed. Revolt is the first thing in your life that is fully yours. But notice the cost. The cost is staggering. You have to give up the comfort of the answer. You have to accept that no one is coming to confirm your story. You have to live without the secret expectation that the universe is keeping score, that there is a final scene where it all gets explained, that your suffering has a hidden purpose, that someone, somewhere, is watching and approving. You have to put all of that down, and you have to keep it down. This is why most people prefer the leap. The leap is cheap. Revolt is expensive. Revolt asks you to stand every day in the exact place the leap was designed to take you out of. And yet Camus believed this was the only honest life available to a conscious person. He believed it so completely that he spent his career building toward a single image. An image he wanted you to carry in your mind for the rest of your life. A man, a mountain, a stone. And in the next part, we go there. You know the myth. The gods condemned Sisyphus to roll a boulder up a mountain, and every time he reached the summit, the boulder would roll back down, and he would have to descend and begin again, forever. The gods chose this punishment because they believed nothing was more terrible than futile, hopeless labor. Camus took the myth and broke it open, and what he found inside was not despair. It was the only honest portrait of the human condition ever drawn. Look at where the story actually lives. Most people focus on the climb, the strain, the boulder pressed against the shoulder, the slow advance up the slope, the moment of false triumph at the top before the stone rolls down again. That is the part that looks tragic. That is the part that reads like punishment. Camus said no. The myth does not live in the climb. It lives in the descent. Watch Sisyphus walk down. The boulder is already at the bottom. The work is already undone. He has the entire walk back to the foot of the mountain, alone, with nothing to do but think. And in that walk, Camus said, is everything. That is the moment Sisyphus is fully conscious of his situation. He sees the absurdity completely. He knows the climb means nothing. He knows the rock will roll. He knows tomorrow is identical to today and to every day that will follow until the end of time. And he keeps walking down. This is the entire teaching. It is in those steps. Because here is what Camus understood that the gods did not. The gods thought the torture was the futility. They were wrong. Futile labor is only torture if you are still hoping it will not be futile. The moment Sisyphus accepts, fully, with both eyes open, that the boulder will always roll back, the punishment loses its grip. There is no fate, Camus wrote, that cannot be surmounted by scorn. Scorn is not the right word in English. What he meant is something closer to lucid refusal. The refusal to let the meaninglessness of the task make the man meaningless. The refusal to be crushed by a condition that is, after all, only a condition. Sisyphus knows the rock. The rock does not know Sisyphus. And in that asymmetry, the entire victory. Now look at your own life. The boulder is the job you will do until you retire or die. The relationships you will tend until they end one way or another. The body you will maintain until it stops being maintainable. The list of tasks that regenerates every Sunday night. The stone that rolls back down every time you think you have reached the top. You did not choose this structure. No one chooses it. It is the human condition with the curtain pulled back. And you have two postures available inside it. You can climb the mountain pretending the rock will stay. You can tell yourself one more promotion, one more achievement, one more milestone, and then it will hold. That is the leap. That is the slow, grinding misery of every adult who is still waiting for life to finally make sense. Or you can climb it knowing the rock will roll, knowing the climb is the life, knowing there is no summit where the meaning is finally handed to you. The second posture sounds harder. It is not. It is, in the deepest sense, lighter, because nothing is being deferred. Nothing is being borrowed against a future payoff that will never arrive. The climb is yours. The rock is yours. The descent is yours. What looked like punishment becomes, somehow, possession. And then Camus closes the essay with the line that has haunted philosophy ever since. The line that sounds, on first reading, almost insulting. The line you have been building toward for this entire video. In the next part, we sit with it. Because to actually mean it, to actually live it, is the hardest thing this philosophy will ever ask of you. Camus is not telling you to fake happiness. He is not telling you to find the silver lining. He is telling you that the man rolling the rock, the man who has stripped away every illusion, who has refused self-destruction, who has refused the leap, who stands fully conscious inside the absurd. That man is the one capable of happiness. Not despite his condition. Because of it. Because to actually live this, to actually imagine yourself happy in a universe that owes you nothing, you have to put down the structure of borrowed meaning that holds your days together. You have to stop waiting for the payoff. You have to stop secretly believing that some future moment will arrive and validate everything you have done. You have to release the quiet expectation that someone, somewhere, is keeping score. And you have to keep releasing it, every morning, for the rest of your life. That is what Camus is asking. Not a feeling, a practice, a daily refusal of every soft escape that wants to take you back into the leap. Here is the truth. You are probably in philosophical self-destruction right now. The system you have leaned on, the career narrative, the optimization protocol, the relationship cast as salvation, the gentle spirituality, the productivity religion, the political identity, was never built to hold the question. It was built to silence it. and the longer you lean on it, the more of your life you spend half awake. Stopping is not a single decision. It is a series of small ones. The next time the question visits, at the red light, in the cereal aisle, at 3 in the morning, do not reach for the phone. Do not reach for the plan. Do not reach for the answer. Sit there. Let it visit. Let it stay. Notice the precise system you usually grab to make it leave, and do not grab. That is revolt. That is the descent of Sisyphus, performed in your own life, in real time. It will feel like nothing the first dozen times. It is not nothing. This is not a path to peace. It is a path to presence. They are not the same thing. Peace is what the leap promises and never delivers. Presence is what revolt actually offers, and it is harder, and it is yours. Camus believed a life lived in flight from the absurd was a life half spent, and he respected human beings too much to let them spend it that way without at least being told. He is telling you. The question that visits you is not a defect. The silence underneath your days is not a problem to be solved. The condition is the condition, and inside it, fully awake, fully conscious, refusing every easy exit, there is a way to live that the running never offered. If something in this made you reflect, leave a comment with the moment in your own life when the question first visited you. That is where the work begins. And whatever you do next, keep watching. Something has shifted. A door has been opened that does not close on its own. You will feel it next time the question comes. You will recognize it, and you will have a choice you did not have before.